platform that matches students to scholarship opportunities and supports them in writing their application. Yeah, and we've always worked with students as early as grade 10, and a big part of that is that we see that if we can work with students early enough, we can actually work with them to build initiatives within their community that, one, we know are going to help them stand out on a scholarship application, but two, are really just helping them to have an impact in their community in the first place, right? And the earlier you start that process, the better off you're going to be, because I think both university admissions as well as scholarship committees are looking for long-term volunteer leadership experiences. And I think
Mhm.
there's actually never been a better time for students to take action in that way. And obviously, it can't be in the traditional way that you normally would because we can't gather together and be in groups and that type of stuff. But I think given the technology that we have, things like Zoom and
Mhm.
stuff like that, you really do have an opportunity to connect with people and to create really amazing initiatives. They're just going to look a little bit different than they might have otherwise looked if you were still in school, right? But
Yeah.
we've spent a lot of time thinking about like and really walking students through like what does it look like to start a club if you're going to start it online, or what does it look like to put on a fundraiser if you're going to do it online versus asking for donations to local businesses, right? And all
Mhm.
that looks really different, but at the same time, it's really just a new opportunity, and I think that's the way we're trending, anyways, given um, how technology is really at the forefront of everything now, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's really, you mentioned kind of entrepreneurial mindset with even kind of some of the personal development that ends up happening when they apply for scholarships. Do you think, I mean, obviously you're an entrepreneur and the skills that you have picked up um, from the time, even just in university before the business started to everything that's kind of now developed and grown from it. Why do you think that is an important part of, I guess, the mindset? I know you also teach entrepreneurship workshops and things like that. Why do you think that's an important skill set, I guess I would call it, to have, regardless of whether a student thinks of themselves as an entrepreneur or even has a business idea? Like, why would that be important?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about entrepreneurship or like the idea of entrepreneurship as like this all encompassing way for students or youth to really just have and take action on innovative
Mhm.
ideas, and it doesn't have to be in the form of a business or a not-for-profit or anything like that. Like what it can actually just be is your ability to see an opportunity to support other people in any capacity and turn that into something that's going to be useful to your community or to your school or whatever it is. And I mean, I think it's so important for students to take action on their ideas. And I think that's like usually the hardest thing is taking that first step. But I think having an entrepreneurial mindset and really looking for opportunities to have impact in any shape or form is so important. And I don't think it has to be in the traditional sense of building a business. And in fact, I would say that for me, that was my first step. But if I could go back to high school, I would have thought a lot more about like how can I do something impactful in my community that's really going to give me the opportunity to learn and to skill stack, so that if I do start to decide to start a business in the future or do something in the future like that, I've learned all these skills from starting clubs or starting fundraisers or engaging my community in that way. And I
Mhm.
think it's all about skill stacking and really learning as many skills as you can. And I think when you have an entrepreneurial mindset, that's automatically what happens is you get exposed to a lot of different opportunities and a lot of skills that you probably otherwise
I love that word, skill stack. I haven't heard that one before.
wouldn't.
That's definitely kind of where we're hoping that the students that take our course come this September really see it as putting themselves kind of in a way to collect and have the opportunities to collect the skills. And it's not even just about the business part of it. Business, I mean, that's great. And we use that concept to teach and develop some of those skills. But really, you're right. It is really about gathering those skills and stacking them up and becoming as well rounded as possible. So,
Yeah,
I
and
love that.
what's interesting, I think, for young people is like when you build something, and it can literally be anything, but when you build something, whatever career path you end up going into, it's only going to support you in that career path. And I think
Mhm.
like if you were to give a traditional example of becoming like an accountant or something like that, if you're going into your community or into your school and you're creating something or building something, and you really take on that entrepreneurial mindset, that's going to look a lot more interesting on a resume when you try to get hired at a big accounting firm than the
Mhm.
traditional path that other students might be taking, right? So anytime you have an opportunity to add new skills to your to what you're doing and to really build something, I think that's going to aid you in any career you end up going into, whether that's entrepreneurship or business or something more traditional, right? So I think no matter what students do, it's definitely never gonna hurt you to take action and to build something if you have the opportunity to.
Perfect. And you mentioned starting, you were saying some students have started some clubs online or just even taking that initiative to do that. So, with students, especially the ones that feel their hands are tied, they're getting in trouble when they go out and they're getting in trouble when they hang with their friends and those types of things. What are some things, maybe one or two things, if you have three, that'd be great, that students can maybe do to kind of show that they care about their community and do something to also build up their, I guess, scholarship package that would be ideas that you've seen that you're like, hey, that's a really great idea.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that we always talk about is like you want to start by finding something that you're passionate about, because it's
Mhm.
really hard to do anything if you're not actually passionate about it, right? So whether that's an extracurricular like soccer, for example, or basketball, which you can't do right now, but there's a way for you to engage that community because you're passionate about them and to do something for them online, that would be a really great place to start. But we always say to students, the number one thing is figuring out what it is that you're passionate about before you take action on an idea, because that passion is going to fuel everything else that you do. And then the second thing I would say that I think is often the hardest part for students is actually starting, and that can come in the form of like reaching out to one of your
Mhm.
peers or a teacher or a counselor online and asking for support to get something started. Or it could be building a website, like whatever it is. I think taking that first step is usually the hardest. So once you figure out what you're passionate about, I think the second thing is figuring out who's going to want to support you in building out this initiative or this vision that you have, right?
Yeah.
And reaching out to that person, I think, is a really important first step. And then I think from there, it's really just being creative in your approach to building whatever it is that you're building, because obviously you don't have a lot of the traditional resources that you would have. And I think for some students that can feel overwhelming because everything's just been shifted upside down and you have to be able to adjust. But I think really finding that creativity and making sure that you're using it towards something that you're passionate about, that's usually going to guide you with whatever hiccups you face or whatever challenges you face. So if you can find something you're creative or that you care about, that you're passionate about, that you can also put your creative energy into, and then you can find a team to support you in building it out. I think those are the three things that are really important for building anything, whether it's a business or an initiative or a fundraiser or anything like that. So that would probably be my advice.
Oh, awesome. We're so sad we can't have you up here in Australia. We will definitely have you back whenever the iCube Summit is. And so, students that are listening, please make sure you sign up with your teacher, your counselors to make sure you get to see Maddie in person when we have the iCube Summit in Prince George in the future. So, thank you so much, Maddie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. And I really look forward to the summit whenever it does happen. I'm super excited and yeah, really excited to share with youth, because I think you guys are our future. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.